Welcome to another episode of 9 to 5 Mac Weekly, where Samsung designed and released smart tags before Apple could even put the AirTags out. I have your host, Miles Somerville, and let's dive in. Apple Silicon rumors are starting to really heat up, and we got a lot to talk about, so let's jump right into it. CES 2021 was this past week, and obviously everything had to be done online, but there were a few cool standout product announcements from select companies, so I want to talk about 5 products that I personally found interesting. The first of which being a new OLED Ultrawide monitor that LG announced. We don't have all the specs and release info just yet, but we do know it's going to be a 32-inch 4K monitor with an OLED panel. Do you really need to know more than that? We all know this is going to cost well over $1,000 given the display type and the ultra-fine branding, but we should have coverage of that monitor here in the channel whenever it drops, so be on the lookout for that. We also got the first look for Sony's new AirTags drone brand. They showed a brief teaser clip of a rather large commercial-sized drone meant to carry a Sony mirrorless camera. I'm sure this drone's going to be very expensive, likely in the $2,000 to $4,000 range easily, but Sony doesn't mess around when it comes to anything alpha and camera related, so I'm really interested to see how this drone stands out from the competition. Razer announced a really cool looking smart mask called Project Hazel. It's a mask with an N95 respirator and active ventilation. There's also a built-in microphone and amplifier so you can be heard when you're speaking with the mask on. And of course it wouldn't be a Razer product without RGB, so naturally there's customizable RGB LEDs built into the mask. No word on how much this will cost either, but this mask looks really dope and I hope the price isn't too outrageous because I'd love to get my hands on this and see how well it really works. Outside of that, TCL announced a new 8K version of their 6 series television. Even though there's still zero 8K content to watch, companies are following Samsung on the 8K hype train. But it's cool to see lower end brands like TCL dipping their toes into 8K resolution because that'll make manufacturers more competitive for pricing their 8K TVs. There's also this company called Toto that released some more $5,000 toilets, and I need to get my caboose on that one as well. But that's basically CES 2021 in a nutshell. Tons of tech being shown off with a good chunk of it never coming to store shelves. Now to the more Apple-specific news. I firstly want to talk about the new redesigned MacBook Pros that are getting closer and closer to being a real thing. Kuo is starting off his 2021 with some really exciting reports. He's saying that the next generation MacBook Pros are expected to feature a substantial redesign and will ditch the Intel processors in favor of Apple's ARM chips. This is pretty much what we expected already. But design-wise, Kuo expects the Macs to feature squared-off sides in both top and bottom halves of the machine, joining the flat-edge gang that started with the 11-inch iPad Pro. It seems like Apple's really gung-ho on having a completely universal design language for the majority of their products, and I'm personally here for it as long as the redesigns make sense. Hopefully they do. But Kuo consistently refers to the smaller MacBook Pro as a 14-inch model, so it sounds like we should be getting those slimmed down bezels that we've all been waiting for. And one of the big revelations that this report reveals is that Apple's going to be getting rid of the touch bar for the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro. Like, gone. And this makes sense because Apple seemingly gave up on the touch bar right as it was introduced. It hasn't been innovated upon in the slightest way since its introduction, and many people dislike and find it more obtrusive than helpful. So this move makes sense. I don't think many people are going to be upset by this. And then the mic drop for these MacBook rumors is that these MacBook Pros are expected to have MagSafe charging and more I/O this time around. And that in theory sounds good because nobody likes spending extra money on dongles and adapters, but at this point we're pretty much knee deep in a USB-C world, and so why would Apple choose to make this move in 2021? Because there's no way that there will be USB-A or HDMI ports on these machines. Thunderbolt can pretty much do it all, and so the only thing that would make a lot of sense is adding an SD card slot, but at the same time, I don't know. I just find it weird that Apple would backtrack like this, especially now as opposed to 2 or 3 years ago. The MagSafe part of this news is dope though, because everyone loves MagSafe, and there are going to be a lot of OG MacBook users that will be all over these new machines just because of that feature alone. Bloomberg had their own take on this report, claiming that this iteration of MagSafe would also be faster and would allow you to charge up your MacBook quickly. And that in combination with the fire battery life you're getting from Apple Silicon Macs is an absolute W. But other than that, we're expecting these new MacBook Pros to have mini LED displays and launch sometime in Q3 of this year. I personally cannot wait for these. Based on what we're hearing, these could be the ultimate mobile workhorses that we've all been waiting for. Now moving on to iMacs. We've got some tidbits from Bloomberg, and according to Mark Gurman, this year we should be getting redesigned versions of both existing iMac models. Bloomberg describes these iMacs as having smaller bezels and a design similar to the Pro Display XDR, so there will be no huge chin, and they'll have flat backs instead of the classic rounded back design that we've got right now. We unfortunately don't have specifics on what the screen sizes will be, but I think it's almost guaranteed that these will have at least slightly larger displays. I think the rumors of a 24 and 30 or 32-inch display are probably going to pan out. But that's just my personal opinion. These are also obviously going to be running on the Apple Silicon platform, but we don't have much specifics other than Bloomberg saying that this should be the biggest visual update to any Apple product this year. That has me pretty darn hyped for these, and you already know we're going to continue to cover this in the coming months until it's released. But that's not all. We already talked last year about the rumored half-size Mac Pro that'll run on Apple Silicon, but apparently they've got 2 Mac Pros in development. Bloomberg claims that Apple plans on releasing an updated version of the current Mac Pro that retains the same size and Intel architecture, and then they'll release the half-size ARM variant. I'm not really sure what the point of releasing another Intel Mac Pro is, especially when there's, generally speaking, been very little improvements to CPU and GPU tech on the x86 front. I suppose they could add in PCI Express 4.0, but that would really be it. The 2019 Mac Pro wasn't released all that long ago, and so I'm really curious to see how an updated Intel version would be a worthwhile buy. But that smaller ARM-based Mac Pro sounds like an absolutely killer machine, and rumors are saying that its design could likely be heavily inspired by the Power Mac G4 Cube. No word on when we'll see those machines, but more than likely these will be 2022 releases. But that's not all. Now, with a somewhat surprising twist, it seems as though Apple's also working on a new consumer-friendly external monitor. According to Bloomberg, this is still very much in the early development stages, but this monitor could likely be the spiritual successor to the 2011 Thunderbolt display, offering that nice glossy finish and a sleek and Mac-friendly design. For this monitor to make any waves, I think it's going to have to be 5K or 6K, but we'll see where Apple goes with it. My guess is that this will also be a 2022 or maybe even 2023 release. But that's not all. Gerbit's going crazy this week. We've got some 2021 iPhone tidbits, and this year we're expecting to get an S-style update for the new iPhone, so the design won't be radically different, and there won't be a crap ton of new stuff generally speaking, just refining on what the 12 series has already brought to the table. According to Bloomberg, Apple's testing an in-display fingerprint reader for this year's iPhone, and this does coincide with the rumors we've been hearing of Touch ID making a return to the iPhone in some capacity. If this is how they do it, I'm totally down, because at this point I'd say that technology is more than ready to be in an iPhone. And given that most of us will still be masked up this year, having Touch ID will be really nice to have. And with all the praise Samsung's gotten for their folding devices, we all know Apple's looking to make some sort of product that incorporates that technology. And according to Bloomberg, Apple is indeed working on a folding iPhone that's designed to compete with Samsung Z Flip and Z Fold. But we don't know exactly when this device is supposed to see the light of day. Doing something like this would be without a doubt the biggest change they've ever made to the iPhone, so it seems as though Apple's definitely trying to take their time with it and make sure they get it right. And that's the way it should be. Also, AirTags. Bloomberg says they're coming this year, and we've seen some leaked pictures of AirTags accessories that further proves what the general design is going to be like. This product could literally launch any day now, so we're just going to have to keep waiting, I guess. I'm kind of tired of waiting though. Apple, could you please just drop these so we can focus our attention on the other dozen products that are in development? That'd be really nice. Alex says, I hope this isn't true. I know some people don't like it, but I find the touch bar pretty useful. I mean, yeah, this is what I've been seeing generally speaking. A lot of people have been going back and forth since these rumors have sparked as to whether the touch bar is really useful or not. And based on from what I can see, it seems as though there are a specific amount of people that have use for the touch bar and use it with specific apps that they use on a daily basis. And there are others who freaking hate it. There are others who think it looks cool, but don't really use it. Kind of a mixed bag. Technofile says, unfortunately for me, I've had to replace the top case twice due to faulty touch bars. The first one lit up entirely white and blinked at me, and the second one did the same, but only on the right side near the Touch ID button. I'm glad to go back to just getting regular buttons. See, this is an example of someone who does not like the touch bar, someone who prefers that standard function key design. And me personally, I never actually owned a touch bar MacBook Pro, but I've used it plenty of times, and honestly, I could say it's not something I really need. It's not something that anyone needs per se. Jarvis says, if the touch bar is so good, then why don't the Mac Pro and iMac Pro keyboards get it? That is a good question. You know, I feel as though if they did have the touch bar, they would literally be double or triple the price just because of that, you know, aesthetic difference. But that is a good point that Jarvis is making here. I wonder why they never included the touch bar technology into any of their other products like the Apple keyboard for the Mac Pro and stuff like that. That would be really cool to see. But even though it's really cool to see, it would still be just as functional as it would be on the touch bar on the MacBook Pro itself. So it's really just like an aesthetic gimmick, honestly. That's gonna be it for this one though. Based on the current landscape of things, it seems like this is definitely gonna be a Mac heavy year for Apple, but I'm excited for it, and let us know your thoughts on this massive leak dump in the comments down below. And I also want to bring back 9 to 5 Desk Flex. This was something we were doing this time last year, where users would submit a 1 to 2 minute video of their Mac-oriented desk setup. I would feature it on the channel, give some notes, give links to their channels or social handles in the description. That's something I want to bring back. So if you want more info on that, just check the comment section down below. And yeah, submit a video and you might be featured here on 9 to 5 Mac Weekly. But that's about it for this one. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for future content like this. I will talk to you guys in the next one.